Hello, hello, my dear friends. Happy to be here with you today. Happy to be here with you today. And I want to start with our main topic for today, and that's unlocking academic success with effective study habits. This is something that I want everyone to listen, whether you're a student or not, really doesn't matter. We all are active learners and hopefully life learners. In today's lesson, I want to introduce you to effective habits, different techniques that I think are helpful. Some I've used personally, others I'm just suggesting for try. And let's first talk about the importance. Why is it so important to achieve academic success? Why is it so important to have a study habit, to follow a specific routine or try to implement certain educational paths? I think it's important, first of all, because you're optimizing your learning. What do I mean by optimizing your learning? You learn more in so much less time when you prepare yourself and you know exactly what you're doing. I also think that it improves your retention. It improves how much you remember, how much you reinforce yourself to actually keep the information for long term. And we talked about long-term memory before in one of my other presentations, but that's one of the things that are so important to keep, because long term is what carries on with you. Short term, you use it, you lose it. It helps you reduce stress. You reduce stress when you are prepared, when you know exactly what you're doing, when you are planning your steps ahead, and when you are organized. This avoids and prevents study anxiety. Last week's session, we talked about how to prevent that. One of the strategies was to have an effective study habits. So if you structure your lessons or what you're learning very well, you're actually helping yourself prevent all those anxiety. And lastly, but I think very importantly, time management. If you manage your time efficiently, you are able to achieve so much more. You can work and you can prepare a lot of different responsibilities just by managing your time. Of course, there are other things like critical thinking. You're improving your critical thinking. You are achieving certain goals that you're working towards, and we'll talk about all of that. So first, let's talk about the foundation of effective studying. When you effectively studying, you are optimizing your learning, as we discussed. You are reducing your stress, but most importantly, you are empowering your achievements. Your academic goal or any goal that you said is empowered when you come strong into what you're doing. I want to start with the first strategy, which I believe is the most important strategy. Many of us struggle with that, and that's time management. How do you set the correct timing? How do you know what exactly you need to do? There are several ways of time management, but they play a crucial role in how you implement your studying. Let's start with the first significancy. If you have your time managed accurately and optimally, you are reaching your optimization of learning. You learn so much more when you have a study technique or a study time management. You also, as we mentioned before, reduce stress because you know exactly what you're doing and you're preventing yourself from last minute cramming. How many of us have done last minute before a test? We all did. And I'm sure that you know exactly how it feels. It feels unaccomplished, stressful. You still think you don't have enough time. All of that is because of false time management or not planning ahead. Resource allocation. It is very helpful to know what you have. What are the hours of study that you have? What are the things that you're going to use to study and also mentally perform to the best of your abilities? So you know yourself best. You know how much time you need to allocate for a subject. You know what it is that you're studying and what results you're trying to achieve. So all of these result allocations are important and crucial. My cat is welcoming you all. Are important and crucial for you to be very productive. Goal achievement, we've talked about goals before. Something I mentioned before was a SMART goal. And if you don't know what that is, we'll come back to it in a few minutes. SMART goals is what you're doing. When you are time managing and you're preventing yourself from sidetracking or doing something that's not as effective just by putting yourself into a specific goal. So common challenges that we all face, whether you're a student or a lifelong learner: procrastination. Week 2, I actually covered procrastination and how we can avoid it. What is procrastination? Is when you tell yourself, I'll do it later. When you tell yourself this is not important, there's something else coming up. And waiting for the night before the exam to study an entire semester worth of material is setting yourself to stressful situation, setting yourself into possibilities of failing. And to prevent that, we'll talk about the time management. Distractions. In today's day and age, with all the phones and text messages and all the notifications that we get timelessly, they are so distracting. We are constantly checking our phones for notification for something that we need to do instead of actually doing the work that we need to do. So distractions is another common reason. And then overcommitment. When you overcommit to something, when you know it's so hard for you to do because you already have XYZ tasks, but you still commit to do it, that actually prevents you from focusing on one task. And guess what? And then you're not going to be excelling both tasks, because both tasks are requiring your attention, your full time, your full dedication for it. And lack of prioritizing. When you don't prioritize, you don't know what comes first. You don't know what's more important. When you spend hours perfecting something that was not even important or maybe not even necessary, as opposed to studying those concepts and not just wasting your time to make the notes look good, just as an example. A few weeks ago, I have covered one of the most common techniques, which is a Pomodoro technique. It's a technique of time management. It's a technique that allows you to work at a specific time interval. And if you want to review that, please look at YouTube and find that specific time management technique. It's a technique that allows you to focus for 25 minutes and then take a break for 5 minutes. But when you are at that focus of 25 minutes, it's called Pomodoro because of that old clock that people used to use. It looks like a tomato. And that's the name for it. But it's a 25-minute focus, 5-minute break, 25-minute focus, 5-minute break. You repeat that 4 times, and then you take a longer break, usually 25 to 30-minute break. That creates a little bit more focus, more productivity, because you are doing the task for that particular amount of time. You know you'll be getting your break later. So more on that in one of my latest videos. Look it up. Another strategy is called time blocking. Time blocking is when you divide your day or your week into specific segments. You create yourself those segments of what exactly you're doing. You prioritize the way that you approach to your study. Again, going back to one of the presentations I did before, I've provided you with numerous tools of how you can do that. If you are a person that like to write, get yourself a calendar or get yourself a planner. If you like the to-do list, make yourself a to-do list. It's whatever technique works for you. I have provided you a synapse of different websites that you can use, different apps that you can use. There are so many different ways that you can have reminders and different productive task monitor. So one of these time blocking, what they actually do, so let's first define this. It divides your day into specific time intervals. That is helpful whether you have a test or not. It gives you a specific daily routine or weekly schedule that you are to follow with different things that you have to do based on how important it is. You schedule a specific time block, and if you need to study, let's say you know that you have a test tomorrow, then you're going to, in advance, schedule a time block for today for 2 hours of study. Or if you know that there's something else that's more important, you have to submit something, submit a report. That works for not just for students, even for work. If you have to submit something to your boss, to your supervisor, You block that time and you know that this is the time you're focusing on that specific task. So you're dedicating each block of time to a specific task. Visual representation always helps when you have this time block printed in front of you, because then you can actually see what you're doing and how long it takes, and all of these type of ways that you are productively working throughout the day. You have a clear overview of what is it that you're doing throughout the day, what is it that you're spending more time on based on what you need to spend your time for. Here's an example of a daily time blocking schedule. You have the to-do list, you have the reminders, and then your daily time allocation. I know it's a little bit blurry, but I think you can find a whole bunch of examples of these on Google. I have I think I shared it before. I have my to-do list, which looks like this. Oh, here you go. Very simple. You can get that on Amazon. I also have my calendar that I work with, and that is more colorful. I think I shared that before, and I will share that again. So it's daily, weekly, pretty much let's see if I can get that with this background. It's a little bit harder, but you can see that it's color-coded with different time blocks and different things that I do throughout the day, which helps personally follow track on what it is that I'm doing. So this is a weekly schedule that you can create yourself: morning, afternoon, evening, notes, to-do list, you name it, everything that works for you. But once you have it written and presented to you, so much easier to follow and to know what it is that you're doing throughout your day. So this will help you take control of your time, and time management is really what we're focusing on today. So when you have this allocation of blocks, you are able to set yourself clear academic goals. You know exactly what your goal is for the day. You know exactly how long you need to study. You know exactly what project you are accomplishing. You are able to prioritize your task. You know what goes first. You know what it is that's important for you to be completed first. So you allocate that time based on priorities. You are also able to allocate specific time blocks. So people know themselves better. I am better studying in the morning. So if I need to accomplish something very important in terms of studying and memorizing, I would do it in the morning. Some of you guys may do that at night. Maybe you're a better like an owl, better studying at night. So you would set yourself the time at night, or you have more calm or quiet time when the kids are not around. Whatever the situation might be for you, you know what time is best to achieve what goal. So once you set a schedule for it, you're able to be more productive and achieve so much more based on just allocating the correct time for it. And of course, using digital or physical planner. Physical planner is for those of you that are visual. Digital are for those of you that might get sidetracked. So there's a notification or a memory, something that reminds you of a specific task. I do that as well with my schedule. I have both digital and physical. So the digital reminds me 15 minutes before a meeting or 15 minutes before I have to get somewhere. And if my meeting is further away, I set it up in a way that it reminds me X amount of time, depending on how long it takes me to get there. All of that to just prevent all that stress that you can get because you are running late, not achieving what you need to do, and not getting to where you need to get. Third strategy, goal setting. I talked about it before. I'll mention it briefly today as well. Goal setting is when you create yourself a structural plan of what is it that you're achieving, or what is it that you're trying to achieve with a specific effective time to manage your study. Let's talk about the goals. So these goals provide purpose and direction. They give you a sense of purpose. If you know that you're doing something purposeful because it is important to you, whether it's a study or whether it's a submission of something you need to do, you keep learning throughout the process of achieving your goal. You get yourself more motivated when you see that your goals are achieved throughout the time that you're working on it and you are getting steps done. It keeps you motivated because now you're getting some of your goals done, looking forward to achieve the rest. And measuring progress and success. We can all measure our success based on how much we achieved. The more you achieve, the more successful you feel. You helping yourself stay focused because you have a bigger picture to complete. You are trying to complete a specific task, and by emphasizing what it is that you need, you will always achieve your goal at a timely manner. And strategy 4, I think it is so, so important. I want you to remember that it's really not just about what you end up with. It's all about enjoying and learning in the process while achieving your goal. So active learning is such an important concept, because when you let's emphasize active versus passive. Passive learning is writing notes, copying down material, looking at a textbook, reading at a textbook. That is passive. You are passively learning. Active learning is anything you do outside of your comfort zone, if you wish, things that you would do and engage your mind into. That requires a lot more, and that improves your long-term memory. So first, let's go through the strategies of active learning and how you can actually make the most of your time when you learn. Active recall. And active recall is not just reading your notes, but actually stimulating your memory. So let's say there's a definition, you read the word and you define it to yourself without looking at what you wrote. That's a very useful strategy for those of you that need to memorize different definition, A&P, anatomy and physiology, for those students that need to know all those different structures and what they function for. That is very, very helpful technique. Spaced repetition review. It's when you basically review material with increasing intervals. So you start with half a page, you memorize that, then you add to this half a page another quarter of a page. You read that as well, then you add another quarter to that page, but you do it over a long time. So it's not something that you would do if you have a test tomorrow, right? You would do that weeks in advance, adding a little bit more at a time, adding a little bit more to basically work on your long-term memory. The next strategy is self-explanation. As silly as it sounds, look at the mirror and tell yourself the story of what you're learning. Tell those concepts in your own words. It would help you understand, and as you speak out loud, rather than just memorizing in your own head, you hear yourself say it. And when you hear yourself, you're now activating your brain to analyze what you're saying. That works so much better than just reading it to yourself. Let's look through other processes or other ways. Practical testing, quizzing yourself. Make yourself a quiz. There's so many apps today that you can create your own quiz with whatever material that you want. You can create your own flashcards. Flashcards are useful depending on what it is that you're studying, but definitely serve as very, very useful technique of quizzing and testing. The most effective way, I think, in classes that are more difficult is group study. And unfortunately, not too many people are doing that, but group study is so beneficial when you actually teach yourself. Let's say you have a group of 4 students. One of you know better about chapter 1. The other knows better about chapter 3. And you basically learning from each other on what you know best. You are now actively learning by teaching someone. And when you teach someone, you are for sure going to remember that. I actually think I became much, much better in chemistry and physics and math when I started teaching it. I don't think I was that great when I was a student. It was probably a big struggle for me to remember those concepts, just as you struggle when you do that. But when you take your time and you teach someone what you know, you gain that long-term memory for yourself. And lastly, interactive learning. That can include pictures. That can include all different methods using color-coded notes. I have gone through a note-taking technique. The Cornell method is my personal favorite method, where you take those notes and you set them up in a way that your brain just remembers that. So that would be a great way for you to interact and learn. One of the biggest takeaway of our time management is distractions. So reducing distractions will make you so much more productive in your studying. If you reduce the phone, Put your phone on silence. If you know that you need to learn, put it on away mode. Put it in a different room completely. Put it on charge in your living room while you're working in your room, wherever it takes, as long as it's far away from you. Now, I know today, a lot of us have the phone connected to the computer. So you really do get the text message on your phone, but you also get it on your computer, which makes you go and check it. Put it on silence mode. Don't look at it. What helps me is putting my screen on full screen, because then I don't see anything else. I don't see all the distractions that come along with all the announcement and the different emails and all that, because I don't see it. I work on what I have to work. One of the apps that I've suggested before were blocked websites. There are apps that actually control your phone. And what you can do is block specific websites at specific times. So you know while you're working or while you have your time block, those apps are not going to work for you. You just can't access them. And of course, manage your time. Block your time, know exactly what to expect, how long you need to spend for a specific topic, how long you need to study for. Plan everything ahead. Planning ahead is such a significant things to do. So reduce distraction, as I said, block the websites, find a quiet space. If you can't study at home, go to the library. If you get distracted because of wherever you are, find a different place. All of these to minimize your distraction while studying. And the last thing I want to cover is utilizing the resources of studying. So today we're not limited in resources. There are so many different ways for you to study. Be active learner. Be proactive about where it is that you're getting your information from. Textbook is great if you are a fan of learning from textbooks. Lecture notes are so much better, especially if you're a good note taker. Go back to my YouTube channel and find that video on effective note-taking techniques, because that's really the key. When you take good notes, you are already starting yourself with great learning. Online resources, take it with a grain of salt. Sometimes you get things on Google that are not really helpful, not really productive for your specific topic. So Google, I don't know, depends on what it is that you're looking at. But videos, articles, tutorials, so many resources out there. Study group, again, I'm emphasizing on this, very, very important. And digital tools that will allow you to get note-taking apps, flashcards. There are actual apps that record lectures and write it for you as the instructor talks. There's so many different academic resources that you can go through as you're learning. So maximize all of your study material. Use the relevant resources. Select and put yourself into your check what it is that you actually need, which sources are more credible than others. As I said, online sources are not always good, but listen to it before. Make sure that it matches what you're learning, and prioritize your class notes. Learn how to take good notes so you can utilize that for your study technique. As always, I am happy to hear questions. If you have any questions for me, feel free to text, email, send me a message. I am always happy to respond. To give you a heads up, next week we are doing book review, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. If you haven't read it, I suggested it a few weeks ago. I recommend you start doing it this week. We're going to talk about the 7 strategies. That will give you a lot of different, very important information to be very effective in life. Until our educational journey crosses again, always remember that learning is a gateway to a bright future.